Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team PPR mock draft from the first overall spot using FantasyPro's Draft Wizard. The roster positions for today's mock are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. We're drafting up against the expert consensus rankings on FantasyPros, as well as the composite ADP from ESPN, NFL, Sleeper, and RT Sports. But before we could get on into this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into this 10-team PPR mock draft from the first overall spot using FantasyPro's Draft Wizard. So if you know you are the #1 pick in your fantasy football draft, please come into the draft and instantly make your pick, right? Don't sit there dribbling the ball out like you're Kobe, trying to wait for the last shot at the end of the game, right? You don't need to dribble the clock down. Just pick your player. You should know that you are either going to go with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, or Christian McCaffrey. For me, the 101 is very clear. It is Justin Jefferson. He is incredibly young. He is incredibly talented. Ever since he's been in the NFL, he has been absolutely eviscerating defenses. He is on a team that wants to throw the ball at a very high rate because their defense is bottom of the barrel. So for me, it is incredibly simple. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson at the first overall pick. If you wanted to go with McCaffrey or Jamar Chase, I'm not going to have a crazy argument with you, but I do really think in full PPR, and in a 3 wide receiver league, you are going to want to go with Justin Jefferson at the 101. After Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, CeeDee Lamb, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. The second round opens with Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Tony Pollard, Garrett Wilson, Bijan Robinson, Pat Mahomes, Derrick Henry, and 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, even though in a full PPR league where there are 3 wide receiver spots plus a flex spot where you most of the time want to be starting 3 wide receivers plus your flex being a wide receiver, so 4 wide receivers at once. If I could get Christian McCaffrey and Nick Chubb, even in this scenario, I would be falling to my knees and thanking the fantasy football gods, because what a start that is. And getting Bijan Robinson in the second round is a complete and utter wet dream, so I'm shocked Bijan fell that far. There are going to be leagues, though, where people are scared to draft the rookie running back in the first round because Clyde Edwards-Helaire burnt me a couple years ago. There are so many differences between Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Bijan Robinson. It is so crazy. The only reason why Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going in the first round back then was because he was on the Chiefs. If he went to some other random fucking team in the first round, no one would have talked about that highly. Bijan, sure, much worse situation, but he is a significantly better running back. So we are up on the clock here. Justin Jefferson on the squad already. The question here is, do we believe Josh Jacobs will go before we get to pick again? And the answer, obviously, is no, because we have back-to-back picks here. So I think we are going to go with a wide receiver and a running back. I am still very iffy on Jonathan Taylor because I feel like if he does not get traded to the Dolphins or some other team, then Jonathan Taylor is going to be trapped in a situation where I think he is going to hold out. I genuinely think that the situation, the relationship between the Indianapolis Colts is absolutely ruptured between the two, right? I don't think that Jonathan Taylor is going to go back to the team week 1. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all of these reports are complete and utter bullshit, but when Ian Rappaport comes out and says, hey, Jonathan Taylor, the Colts, this relationship cannot be repaired. Not even Bob the Builder can fix this shit. So it does make me worry a lot. So we're gonna go with a running back and a wide receiver here. I think Mark Andrews would be acceptable as well. I fully expect Josh Jacobs to be back. I don't think he is going to hold out. They talked to the Dolphins about trading Josh Jacobs as well. I think Jacobs is going to play this whole season in Viva Las Vegas, and I think he sees a shit ton of touches. Obviously, there's still a minute chance Josh Jacobs holds out, but I don't believe that is going to be true. I think he is significantly safer than Jonathan Taylor. So we're back up on the clock here again. Could definitely consider Mark Andrews or Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen at this spot, but I do love Jalen Waddle this season. Last year, Tyreek's numbers definitely went down without Tua Tagovailoa, but Jalen Waddle's numbers fucking plummeted to the deep depths of hell, right? Because without Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle didn't score a single touchdown. His receiving yards dipped by like 30 on a per-game basis without Tua Tagovailoa. So if Tua's able to stay healthy, I think Jalen Waddle is going to be hitting the waddle in the end zone a whole lot this season. In 10-team leagues, normally I do try to attack that early round tight end, that early round quarterback, but I try and do different things in every single draft, right? I don't want to do every single draft attacking the same exact strategy. You don't want to do missionary every time in your mock drafts. You got to switch it up, do some reverse cowgirl, things like that. So I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle here of the Miami Dolphins, and we will see how it affects my team construction at the end. Like, do I like my team a lot better if I would have, say, taken Jalen Hurts or Mark Andrews there, or do I like the team that I ended up with? So after we went with Josh Jacobs and Jalen Waddle, we see that Jonathan Taylor, Josh Allen, Chris Olave, Ramondre Stevenson, Jahmyr Gibbs, T. Higgins, Jalen Hurts, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith. The fourth round opens with Najee Harris, Mark Andrews in the fourth round. Jeff's kiss. Oh my gosh, what a start from I don't want no Chubb. CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, and Mark Andrews. That is a wet dream start to your draft, followed by DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Travis Etienne, Joe Mixon, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, and Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow. So we're back up on the clock here. Looking at the running backs here, it is absolutely disgusting. This is the range at running back where I love Dameon Pierce so much, but in the fourth or the early fifth round of a 10-team league, it really feels like a reach. Miles Sanders still dealing with injury. I don't necessarily trust the fact that he's going to get a million receptions like Frank Reich is talking about. You remember last year, Frank Reich talked up the backup running back on the Indianapolis Colts saying, hey, if I played in fantasy football, I would draft this guy. And you know what he did? He took that bastard and punted him. He traded him to the Buffalo Bills after telling us all to draft him. So don't believe a fucking thing out of Frank Reich's mouth. Don't believe it. I don't trust Miles Sanders this year. I don't trust Kenneth Walker either. If I was going to go running back, I would reach and take Dameon Pierce, but I don't want to reach here. I don't feel like we're obligated to reach on a running back like Dameon Pierce, even though I am ecstatic to see what he does this season. I think he is the clear workhorse running back in Houston. Devin Singletary cannot even hold the guy's jockstrap. Devin Singletary reeks. I was a Devin Singletary guy last year, and I'll acknowledge I was wrong. I was very wrong. Now, it was a later round pick, so when you swing and miss on later round picks, it is what it is. But obviously, the fact that I liked him so much did kind of suck. I heard a lot about that in the comment section. So we're up on the clock here. Amari Cooper, Deebo Samuel, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins. For me, this is a very easy selection. We are going to go with Amari Cooper here. I think Amari Cooper is the clear wide receiver one in Cleveland. I believe that the Cleveland Browns under Deshaun Watson this year is going to be very, very different. Deshaun Watson last year looked like he couldn't even color in between the fucking lines of a coloring book, right? The defense was just giving him nothing. He had no idea what he was doing. It felt like he was real tense, probably needed a massage, but he can't get those anymore. So Deshaun Watson had a down year last year. I think he bounces back in a big way. And now we are going to go quarterback. It is very easy in this situation. In the fifth round, if Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields are there, I am smashing the draft button every single time and twice on Sunday, unless, of course, I already have a quarterback. The best thing about having a quarterback like Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields is you never have to worry about starting a different quarterback. Now, I know there are going to be tough matchups, right? Every team runs into a buzzsaw, and they will have bad games. But at the end of the day, when you draft one of these guys, they're just in your lineup every week. You don't have to think anything else about it. So we're going to go with Lamar Jackson here. I do have him ranked ahead of Justin Fields, but if Lamar wasn't there, I would have happily went with Justin Fields. Both guys that have the best weapons around them yet, right? For the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar has Odell, Mark Andrews, Rashad Master Bateman, and Zay Flowers. For Justin Fields, he now has Wiki DJ Moore, who I'm a huge fan of. Still has Chase Claypool, as well as Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, as well as having Robert Tonyan. So I'm excited for both of those quarterbacks, and rushing upside is just so important in fantasy football. I also think the Ravens offense is going to be a little bit more pass heavy, which helps out Lamar because he's still going to run, but I don't think they're going to be handing the ball off as much to Mr. Just kidding, J.K. Dobbins. After Lamar Jackson, Deebo Samuel, Jerry Jeudy, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker III, Drizzy Drake London, Christian Watson, Alvin Kamara, Wiki, DJ Moore, his teammate and quarterback Justin Fields, Dalvin, let him cook, Terry F1, Scary McLaurin, TJ Hawkinson, Darren Waller, and Mike Williams. I would have probably jizzed in my pants like the Lonely Island song if I got Darren Waller in the 6th round, but obviously the cookie doesn't crumble that way. Now, based upon how our roster is sitting right now, I would be interested in George Kittle. Now, George Kittle's ADP is around pick 48, so some might say it's impossible for him to fall into the 6th round. I genuinely believe it is very possible because not a lot of rooms are very tight end heavy. There are going to be some draft rooms where people are very hands-off with the tight end position. We see it here, right? Kelsey at the 108, very fair. Andrews at the 4.02. Normally he goes in the 3rd round, but Waller and Hawkinson going in the 6th round of a 10-team league really isn't that crazy. I mean, it seems like a lot of people really like TJ Hawkinson. I'm not as high on TJ Hawkinson as most people. I'm a lot higher on Darren Waller. So I think it is possible that Kittle could fall this way. So we're going to go with George Kittle here. I don't even like George Kittle that much, if I'm being completely honest with you. He is one of those guys that is a liability in your lineup, right? He's a guy that is either going to put up like 3 fucking points, or he is going to pull his pants down and take a gigundous dump on the chest of your opponent. For some people, they don't like that. For other people, they love exactly that. He's got a decent schedule early on. Big cock Brock Purdy force-fed him the rock. Trey Lance got his ass sent packing to Dallas now to be the backup for Dickie Dak Prescott. So, pretty interesting spot for Mr. George Kittle. Again, because he fell, I took him in the 5th, the 6th, the early 6th round. I don't think I would take him at that spot. I've talked about this already. I'm not super high on George Kittle this season. But again, a good thing about him, just like with having that upper echelon quarterback, you don't have to worry about, well, with George Kittle, the guy fucking gets hurt tying his shoes. But with George Kittle and Lamar, as long as they're both healthy, you don't have to worry about sitting them. You don't have to worry about drafting a backup plan, right? So that's a positive for me. Looking at the board here, I like Brandon Ayuk. I don't love Brandon Ayuk, but I think he's fine. I like Tyler Lockett a lot more. I love Michael Pittman a ton. Looking at the board, though, a lot of these running backs have fallen, and I think it does make sense in more of a 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex kind of a draft. So we're going to go with Dameon Pierce here. I think Dameon Pierce should easily be taken inside of the 6th round of a 10-team league. I like his upside. He's not going to catch a bunch of passes, which does kind of hurt his PPR value, but ultimately, I think the offense is going to be better. I think he's going to catch some passes because Devin Singletary has fucking stones for hands, but he's not going to go out there and look like Alvin Kamara or Christian McCaffrey, Eckler, or something like that, but he doesn't need to pay off in the 7th round. After Dameon Pierce, Kyle Pitts, Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Trevor Lawrence, James Conner, Tyler Lockett, in my pocket, Skirt, Madison, Dallas Goedert, Danny Dimes, Deshaun Watson, Cam Akers, Hollywood Brown, Javonte Williams, Juju Smith-Schuster, Michael Pittman Jr., Rashad White, and George Pickens. I was someone that was as off of George Pickens as possible. I fucking wasn't touching him with a 10-foot pole, right? I was following the fucking COVID guidelines. I was like staying 6 feet away from the bastard, right? I was walking nowhere near him. Remember when you used to have to go to the fucking grocery store and you couldn't even walk side by side with someone? Like, you had to walk in one direction. At least that's how it was in New Jersey. That's how far away I'm staying from George Pickens, right? I'm staying clear back. But now, after seeing the preseason, after seeing Kenny Pickett look surgical in the pocket, I'm starting to realize, like, hey, Nick, while you love Deontay Johnson, while you're giving him the gawk 9,000 all the time, maybe you need to start wisening up, pal, and start drafting George Pickens more. He's the clear number 2 receiver there, so I'm going to keep talking myself into George Pickens some more. Back up on the clock here, Jahan Dotson in the 8th round is just a godsend to our fantasy football team. Jahan Dotson is a guy that, if Terry McLaurin misses some serious time, might be a bona fide smash the first couple of weeks of the season. This is a guy that flashed a bunch last season with bad quarterback play. Imagine how things are going to go if Sam Howell is just somewhat decent. Now, I know, Nick, Sam Howell looked great in preseason. Well, I don't want to take preseason as the fucking Bible, right? As the holy text, right? Oh my God, what happens in preseason? It's cool. Cool. It's great. You can follow it somewhat, but you don't want to get too erect downstairs thinking about the preseason, because just because Sam Howell's cutting up the defense, right? With a hot knife. Like, you remember the hot knife challenge back in the day where they'd like cut like a teddy bear with a hot knife? It was kind of cool, to be honest with you, right? But Sam Howell not looking terrible is also a plus, right? If you went out there and looked downright terrible, that would also be just as telling. So in this kind of a league, again, I don't view the running backs with all that much importance. Sure, I need to have 2 running backs to start every single week. So I'm not necessarily going to just punt running back and not draft a bunch until like the very end, but I don't think I necessarily need this tier of running backs. I'd be fine if Brian Robinson, if I'm being honest with you, was my RB number 3. And I would much rather build more on this wide receiver core of Jefferson, Waddle, Cooper, and Jahan Dotson. So we're hunting for all upside here. I definitely prefer Jordan Addison and Brandon Cooks over Gabe Davis or Cortland Sutton, but I think just once we gotta draft Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton might also be a very good sell-high candidate after week number 1, right? Jerry Jeudy probably won't be there. Cortland Sutton could easily ball in that game up against a not-so-hot Raiders defense. So Cortland Sutton's interesting because Judy's hurt. If Jeudy wasn't hurt, Cortland Sutton was kind of just a meh kind of pick, right? You take him. You don't feel really good, but you also don't feel like, hey, I made like a terrible pick doing that. After we went ahead and got Cortland Sutton, we see the Niners defense, Steelers, J.K. Dobbins, James, let him cook, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Philadelphia Eagles, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Brandon Cooks, A.J. Dillon, Gabe Davis, Khalil Herbert, Jordan Addison Ray, Jamal with 2 A's, Williams, Jackson Smith in the Jigba, and Treylon Burks. So, the question here is, where do we want to go at running back? I think on a week in, week out standpoint, comparing P. Ryan to Charbonnet, week 1, you'd probably be more likely to start P. Ryan, right? We haven't really seen Javonte Williams go out there and cut a bunch, but he's been used heavily by the Broncos. We know Sean Payton is a running back by committee guy at heart, and if Javonte Williams was to get hurt again, P. Ryan could step in and play great in that role. I would rather just hunt for the upside, though. Like, if Kenneth Walker just kind of gets overtook a little bit, Kenneth Walker gets hurt, Zach Charbonnet, like, if Javonte Williams gets hurt, I don't think you're moving P. Ryan up to like, holy shit, this guy's a top 12 back in my week 9 rankings, right? No. Maybe RB 16, 17, 18. But if Walker was to get hurt, knock on wood, we know for injuries, Zach Charbonnet might catapult to like RB 7 because they are going to force feed the rock down the guy's throat. This guy's an incredible pass catcher, great at running as well, decent on the goal line. Think he's going to be taking away some work away from Kenneth Walker, so we're going to go with him. The question is, do we want to just jump back in and go running back again with Samaje Perine, or do we want to go with a wide receiver in this spot? So we have right now 3 running backs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers. But again, this is a league where you want to be starting 4 receivers all the time. You only need half the running backs, right? If we want maybe for a more robust running back start, right? We rip McCaffrey, Chubb, Taylor. They're going to be in your lineup every single week, so you might not be as worried about that if you start that way. But based upon the way we started, unless Zach Charbonnet becomes the second coming of fucking Bo Jackson or something like that, you're not going to necessarily need to start him every single week in your flex. Or ahead of a guy like Dameon Pierce. So I think our best shot here is just to go for high upside receivers. We are going to go with Michael Thomas in this spot. Again, some people might throw up thinking about drafting Michael Thomas, but to me, I think Michael Thomas has the upside to finish as a top 12 receiver on the season. Is he going to do it? Probably not. Probably not going to do that. But does he have the upside to do so in the Saints offense? Yes, Derek Carr's already talked him up. He's actually looked pretty solid in the preseason work and the training camp videos I've seen. Now, can the guy stay healthy is a huge question. It's more of a question, though, when you draft him in like round 4. Right? This isn't round 4. This is round 11. Right? If Michael Thomas gets hurt 2 weeks in the season, see you later, pal. He's cut off the team, and it's no sweat off my back. So after Michael Thomas, we see Odell Beckham Jr., Samaje Perine, Kadarius Toney, Elijah Moore, Rashad Master Bateman, Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers, that seems like one of the dumbest picks. I don't know why the fuck people are drafting him. Jerick McKinnon, Devin 2 Chains, Rashad Penny, Zay Flowers, Dak Prescott, Jeff Wilson, Sky with 2 Ys, Moore, Quentin Johnston, Evan Ingram, Dallas Cowboys, Rondell Moore, Ezekiel Elliott. So right now, to me, if I knew for a fact that Jonathan Taylor wasn't going to sneak his way up to the Miami Dolphins, then I would smash I would smash Raheem Mostert here. Right? Raheem Mostert, incredibly fast, great offense. Sure, they use a committee system, but who knows the health of Devin A-Chain for week 1? Things would be great to get Mostert. There's also the chance that Mostert gets shipped off with that Jonathan Taylor trade, right? Jonathan Taylor comes in, Raheem goes to Indy. Now, obviously, the Colts aren't the best situation to be in, but in that scenario, Raheem Mostert would be the RB1, and things would be all fine and dandy there. But there's also a chance that Raheem Mostert gets cucked. He's now the RB2 behind Jonathan Taylor, or worse, the RB3 in Miami, and then Jeff Wilson gets sent into the good situation in Indy. So I think we're just going to go with Jaylen Warren here. I've talked about this a bunch, right? It is very confusing trying to assess Jaylen Warren. He's really good. He's probably better than Najee Harris. But Mike Tomlin has this hard-on for holding on to having just a workhorse running back. He doesn't mess with the running back by committee. That has become very popular in the league. I get if you have this elite running back like Le'Veon Bell, like James Conner, who looked really good in Pittsburgh, then sure, run with the workhorse running back, the fucking steadfast running back, right? The one guy. But when you have Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, it should be a committee. But it's probably not going to be. But. Jaylen Warren's so good, maybe he changes his ways. Do I think he will? Fuck no, baby. But could he? I think so. So we're back up on the clock here. Probably going to go with running back again. It's telling us to draft Pat Freiermuth, but we already have George Kittle. Again, I get George Kittle gets hurt fucking eating a lollipop. He chokes on it or something. But I still don't feel like it would just feel stupid to draft a backup, right? I could just cut Jaylen Warren or one of these other guys, right? And then pick up a tight end if something happened to Kittle. Same thing goes with Lamar Jackson. I don't really feel a need to draft a second quarterback, even though I love my guy Tua. I love Anthony Richardson. Geno Smith, I like as well. Jared Goff. But we're on the clock here. We're going running back again. I don't even like Dameon Harris much this season. I think we're just going to go with Elijah Mitchell. Another handcuff. This guy could be lethal if CMC misses some time as the 49ers lead back. Again, will McCaffrey miss time? Who fucking knows? He is starting to get to the range where he's old enough to where running backs miss more games. We talked about that in the draft strategy video. There is this, make sure you watch that if you haven't watched already. Now, it's focused around 12-team leagues, so if you're in a 10-team league, maybe you don't need to look at the draft section, but I talk a lot about these injury things that I have read. Now, I am not a doctor. I'm as much of a doctor as the guys you see on the hub, but at the end of the day, reading all that tells you the older the running back, once they hit a certain age, they are much more likely to get hurt. Running backs get hurt on average, I think, 3.5 games per year they miss, compared to, I think, 2 at the receiver position. So if CMC misses 3 games and you get 3 games of Elijah Mitchell, that is a wet dream inside of the 13th round. After Elijah Mitchell, Adam Thielen, Devin Singletary, Dameon Harris, Pat Freiermuth, Dalton Schultz, David Njoku, Jameson Williams, Nico Collins, Tyler Higbee. The 14th opens with Geno Smith, Raheem Mostert, Kendre Miller, Tyler Algier, Sam Laporta, Kenneth Gainwell, Alan Lazard, Cole Kmet, and Tank Bigsby. So here we are going to go with our final player. We're going to tap one more running back, one more receiver, I should say, on to our squad here. All of the Carolina Panthers receivers are just going down. Thielen got hurt today, but then just magically resurrected. He was fine. Scored a touchdown, I believe, in that game. I was so off of Adam Thielen. I have had an epiphany. Also me 50 at Tiffany. Shout out to Tiffany Stephanie that you need to start drafting Adam Thielen. Now, he already went, so we can't get him on the squad. So we're going to go with the next best thing in Carolina, and we are going to go with Jonathan Mingo. Again, with this last pick, like in the 14th round, you can literally pick whoever the fuck you want, right? You can scroll down, you can draft Jaden Reed, who I like. You can draft Marvin Mims, potentially the wide receiver 2 in Denver with Jerry Jeudy missing time. You can draft Rashee Rice. You can draft John Mechie. You could draft Mecole Hardman, right? Just take a shot deep in the draft, right? In a 10-team league, you don't need Tyler Boyd. You know what Tyler Boyd is. You just know what he is. So take the shot on the more unknown guys in a 10-team league. So back up on the clock here. Going to go with a kicker and then a defense. Going to go defense. Actually, we'll go kicker first because the kickers here are better. Pick your poison. I'm going to go with Harrison Butker this time. And then for defense, I made a defenses to draft video yesterday. If you have not watched that, I'm going to give you the too long didn't read version. For defenses, doesn't matter how good the defense is when you draft them, right? You might think, Nick, the Jets are going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. Well, guess what, pal? The Buffalo Bills come into Gotham, New York, actually New Jersey. They come to MetLife. That's what's going to happen. The Bills are going to unload points, right? They're going to score. So just because the Jets have a good defense doesn't mean they're not going to have tough opponents. They play the Dolphins twice. They play the Bills twice. They play a not some cupcake schedule. So what you want to do is find a defense playing a not-so-hot offense week 1. For instance, the Washington Commanders play up against the Arizona Cardinals, and Joshua Dobbs, Clayton Looney Tunes, or Colt 45 and 2 Zigzags as the quarterback, McCoy. So watch that video. If you haven't seen it already, that video is going to be very important for you to understand how to stream defenses. Again, the Commanders are just one of 5 defenses that I talk about. So we got an 84 out of 100. To me, that rating is just really weird. Now I get, Nick, your running back 3 room is kind of soft, right? Yeah, I get it. I think we make up with it with having that elite quarterback, having the upside of the elite George Kittle. So our team, Lamar Jackson, are at quarterback. Our running backs are Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce. Plus, we have the best running back playing quarterback in Lamar Jackson, of course. Receivers are Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle away, Amari Cooper. Our tight end is George Kittle. Our flex is Jahan Dotson. Our defense is the Commanders. Kicker, Harrison Butker. Bench is comprised of Cortland Sutton, Zach Charbonnet, Michael Thomas, Jalen Warren, Elijah Mitchell, and Jonathan Mingo. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button down below. It helps us out a ton. This is probably the fastest mock draft we've ever done. We kept it under 30 minutes. And I had a fun time. Let me know down below what you guys thought about the team. Love you guys all. See you guys later in a video that's going to be a banger. We're going to be talking about my must draft early round players. Talk about the first 4 rounds of drafts, 10 players that I love in those first 4 rounds. So hope you guys have a great one. See you guys later. As always, have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. Chef's kiss. Good boy.